Alva! There you are!
Vampire's Kiss.
Strange stuff. I'll never do that again. Jeez.
What the fuck was that?
Greetings, children of the screen. Your friendly neighborhood nerd scum here once again, and I am joined by
Taylor.
And tonight, on this edition of What the Fuck Was That? Quarantine Edition, we take a look at Vampire's Kiss starring Nicolas Cage from 1989. Oh my god, I've been wanting to cover this movie on my channel since I started my channel. Taylor, what did you think?
I fucking hated it.
She fucking hated that. I love this movie so much. Don't get me wrong, it's pretty awful, but I love this movie so much. And I guess we'll now go into why we have those differing opinions, starting with Taylor.
I had a difficult day yesterday.
Okay, Taylor, so you fucking hated this movie.
Yeah.
What'd you hate about it?
The fact that you don't know what's going on most of the time. The fact that it fucks with your brain and you're just like, I don't understand. Not only that, but some of the shots are kind of weird and you're just like...
Fair. But I mean, movies like Inception fuck with your mind and people love that movie.
I've never watched Inception, so I don't know.
Okay, I didn't love Inception. I'm just saying, like, the thing that you're pointing out is usually something that people applaud movies for, where it's like, oh, I never knew what was real and what wasn't real. Is there a specific reason why it didn't work for you?
Because they didn't, in my personal opinion, they didn't do it right.
Okay.
They didn't, like, make it to where this camera angle or this, like, certain lighting was like, this is fake, this is real, because, like, certain people can catch on to that and other people can't. In this, you don't know if any of it's real.
True.
You don't know if there's a point to the movie either. There's no point to this movie.
There's absolutely a point. It's a harrowing depiction of a man slowly unraveling as a black comedy set amongst, like, the rich Wall Street crowd of 1989.
No. No.
Okay, well, but having said that, though, as we were watching this movie, there were definitely some times where you genuinely laughed at the movie. And as this movie is meant to be a comedy, that counts for something, so what were a couple of the moments that at least made you laugh?
His facial expressions are on point. They're so stupid, and I love them. And everyone's reaction to him.
Yeah, I mean, this is the movie that spawned, like, the most notorious Nicolas Cage meme of, like, just the face with the huge, crazy eyes and eyebrows and stuff, where he looks like a witch or something. Yeah, like, and that's the thing that's, like, the thing that I do think is actually really fun about this movie is that, like, most people think of Nick Cage going crazy later on in his career, but, like, no, that shit was always there, and in this movie, he's just, like, 110% over the top, just pure Nick Cage.
You just put it in the right file, according to alphabetical order. You know, A, B, C, D, E, F, G,
Hater.
H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P,
Hater.
Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Huh? That's all you have to do.
So, I love this movie because it's completely, totally fucking insane. It is balls to the wall, batshit crazy, pun absolutely intended, and now, just everything about it. Everything about it, like, it's a perfect double feature for American Psycho. Nicolas Cage's performance, while, like, it's crazy and over the top, it is completely out of sync tonally with everything else in the rest of this movie. Like, literally every other element of this movie, except for on occasion the soundtrack, plays this movie completely straight. Like, what you're seeing is happening for real. Specifically, like, with his secretary, Alma, you know? Like, she plays all those moments like they're real. Not like the way Nicolas Cage is playing them, like an over-the-top cartoon. And so, on one hand, that juxtaposition creates some really interesting comedy in some scenes, and in other scenes, it is just so off-putting that, like, it gives the movie this weird, surreal, bizarre quality, which I think really plays into what you were saying you didn't like, which is not being able to tell what's real and what's not. Because even when we see scenes that we know for a fact are in his head, the people in the scenes are still playing those scenes like they're real. They're not playing them like him. Even when you have, like, the therapist saying things like she'll deal with the police and stuff, she's not treating that situation like it's real, but she's treating it like a real person would handle a conversation. Like, it's not played over the top. It's understated, if anything.
Yeah.
And I really love the aspects of the movie where it is like, well, did he ever go to the therapist? Did he ever have a therapy session? Because later on in the movie, once he's going crazy, he's like, maybe I should see a therapist. Which kind of makes you wonder, well, wait a minute, did he ever go see a therapist? I also really like the idea that, like, they bury the lead really pretty hard, that, like, but over the movie you can pick up the context clues of, like, essentially some girl in high school broke his fucking heart, and then he became a man whore trying to, like, basically fuck the pain away by, like, one night standing with, like, with, like, replicants of her, women who look just like her, kind of, like, trying to replace her and then fuck her and discard her, and that didn't get him any, like, fulfillment, and he eventually began to realize how lonely and pathetic he was, and then, like, he had set his life in this, like, rigid, kind of little orderly way. When you see his apartment, it's very well put together and shit, but the fact that Alma cannot find this one goddamn file just, like, throws him for a fucking loop. Like, I really love that, to a large degree. I also really appreciate, specifically, like, with the Alma stuff, she feels very real in every scene we see her with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
And I was mentioning to you, even that is questionable how much of that side of the story is real, because we never see, other than the final scene in the movie, we never see any of her family with Nicolas Cage, like, in a scene with him. So, like, all the stuff with her and her mom at the house where she's acting like a little girl, even though she's clearly a woman in her mid-20s, maybe closer to 30s, and, like, that whole weird relationship thing between them, like, all her home life could be completely inside Nicolas Cage's head. We don't really know. He could have literally taken the way that Alma dresses and extrapolated what he thinks her home life is like, as, like, a way of, like, personifying her as this, like, outlet for his psychological torture. You know? Because, again, when we go to the house and see her doing her laundry, there's no one there but her. And it also doesn't necessarily look like a house that's shared by multiple people. So anyway, it's interesting, and I like the fact that it is in this, like, nebulous gray area, and because of that, they can really play with scenes that maybe, on one hand, would not be funny, but they're able to milk a lot of comedy out of just the bizarreness and the weirdness of it. Yeah. Now, having said that, there are definitely some things in this movie that do not work, and I think that even what you were saying is true. There are some shots in the movie that do not work, and if they worked the way they were supposed to, they would sell the whole, like, what's real and what's not a little bit better, or, like, at least tricking you. Because in the early scenes, like, whenever, you know, he gets bit, but then there's nothing there, and he cuts himself shaving, and he goes back to take her coffee, you noted that, like, you can see she's not in the bed long before he notices she's not in the bed.
Yeah.
So is that the movie trying to not trick us? Is it trying to show us immediately that he's crazy? Or is that just poorly shot? And there's a couple of scenes later on in the movie that do a similar thing, where it's, like, clearly a scene that relies on the perspective of a character, but the way it's shot, it's hard to tell what the intent of that scene is. It's my belief that when you're watching the movie, you're supposed to notice it from the beginning. The reason I say that is because we have the scene of him not seeing himself in the mirror, even though we can see him in the mirror.
Oh Christ, where am I? Where am I? Where am I? Oh Christ, where am I?
And I just absolutely love that. But that seems to indicate that they wanted you to notice, but then again, maybe that was supposed to be the switch scene where we were supposed to realize it was all in his head, and because the movie's so nebulous, it's hard to tell.
Oh God. Oh God, where am I?
So yeah, there are definitely some faults in the movie, but, like, for the the freaking alphabetization scene where he's just A, B, C, D. Like, for that scene, and for, like, the scene where he assaults his secretary, and then, like, after shooting himself and it not working, literally cries, boo-hoo! Boo-hoo! Like, those scenes are infinitely hilarious on so many levels. And I could probably actually just do a video analyzing why those two scenes work so well, because they're the highlights of this movie, but I'm not going to do that here. We're just going to, like, move on through this thing. So, yeah. I guess that's it for this section. Right on Children of the Screen, there you have it. Two very different opinions. She hated it, I loved it, but it seems like we hated it and loved it for almost the same reason. So that would at least seem to indicate that the filmmakers definitely had a vision and a purpose, but your mileage might vary on how well they achieved that. But either way, it is definitely perfectly suitable and an excellent entry into the what the fuck was that? So, thank you guys very much for watching.
Later.
Right on, guys. If you like this video, please leave a like and share it with some friends. Also, if you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe so you can check out all the crazy fucked up shit we'll have coming out in the future. In this crazy ass time, guys, make sure to take care of yourselves and each other. Wash your hands, all that good bullshit. Nerd scum, motherfucking out. Boo-hoo! Boo-hoo! A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I know my alphabet! I've never misspelled anything in my life! I've been doing this shit all week!